until moments before. So hopefully in a moment, some people will join us to build up to tonight's game against Arsenal at home. Another game where obviously we're worried, first and foremost. I feel anyway, I'm more worried about the games at the minute than looking forward to them. Let me know how you feel in the chat. I can see people coming in now. Let me know in the chat your feelings before the game. Obviously, very disappointing result on Saturday at 3:00. So maybe that's why we didn't play very well. We're not used to playing at that time. But disappointing result and disappointing performance on Saturday against Palace. Toothless, I think, and just negative, boring. When we spoke last week about the Chelsea game beforehand and then afterwards, I think people accepted and people were understanding as to why we played the way that we did. But then very, very disappointed to go and not back that up with a positive performance against Palace. However, I think it was Dave Edwards. I think I saw Gully, Molyneux Musings, tweet out earlier a quote from Dave Edwards that said, when you're in this real negative run of form, then you start to doubt every single pass that you make, and you start to doubt every run off the ball, everything that you do, every shot you don't have conviction with, because you're just not confident about what you're doing. And I think that's very, very clear at the minute with Wolves. I think we're not. I just don't think we're very confident at the minute at all. And I think that's probably the main problem. So the team is out, and the way that Wolves have put it online is a little bit concerning. I don't think this can be right. It looks very, very attacking. It looks like a back four. That's what people are saying in the comments on Twitter, in the replies. So let's have a look. Let me just read the team out. I'm just going to share the link to this on Twitter, this live stream. Is it working? Yeah, it is. It's live stream. There we go. So the team is Patricio in goal, Kilman, Cody, Bolly as a back three. Then it's got Neto as left wing back, Semedo as right back. But as the first comment on the on Twitter says, it probably is Kilman at left back and then a back four. So like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, now Cody's out ball is going to be nullified a little bit. We're not going to be able to see his big sweeping balls out from the centre of that back three, unless it is going to be a back five and Neto is going to be playing left wing back. Although I very much doubt that. Moutinho managed to keep his place in the team. Dendoncker is on the bench. Neves back in. And then a front three of Podence, Willian and Adama. Willian, Jose. And then the bench, only 8 players on the 9 bench. On the 9 available, which is not very positive, really. So Ruddy, Hoover, Silva, Gibbs White, Vitinha, Dendoncker, Richards, Lewis Richards, that is, and Owen Otasawi. Now, personally, so it would seem there that Ainouri is injured. Marcel, clearly not capable of playing. So I don't think it'd be Neto playing left wing back, surely. I would have much preferred, and the fact that Hoover's on the bench there would have made more sense to have played Semedo on the left-hand side and Hoover on the right. It looked okay in the second half against Palace. Didn't look brilliant, but I think that's probably a better option than a back 4 at the minute. I think the back 5 has to stay. The back 3 have looked okay, but I don't know whether he's throwing caution to the wind by playing this more attacking play. who knows? It does look like it's going to be 4 at the back, though. Lots and lots of, I say lots and lots, 3 comments. Nice to see people joining in. Thank you very much. So it's thank you and hello to Mike and Shiv and Matthew Paul. Zhao in the team, dearie me, says Shiv. Completely agree, Shiv. I think he's been atrocious recently. The way that, I mean, even against Chorley, that he could not control the ball, couldn't lay the ball off. I don't know. He seems a real shadow of the player that we signed a couple of years ago, and that we've seen. Whether you know, he used to like waving at the fans and stuff like that. Whether he's really missing the fans, but that's not an excuse for a player of his ability and for his standard. There should not be. That shouldn't even come into consideration. So it is worrying. And then somebody else, Smurf, has just said about he's worried about Neves and Zhao in midfield. I don't know what other options we've got though, really, because I mean, Neves, I think, has had a little bit of a bad run recently. I don't think he's on quite bad a form as Moutinho. And Dendoncker, I think, is just, I don't know what it is about him, because when he came back into the team for that FA Cup game, we looked really good and he was really important. And I remember saying on Dazzling Dave's halftime channel a few months ago, I can't remember what game it was, I think it was around New Year, but I said that the player we were missing the most was Dendoncker, because he offered us that versatility and he offered us some more cover going back, but then also could go forward. It looked like we were missing Dendoncker, then he came back in and we won that game. But now he's just gone completely off the board. So I think he's right that he's dropped. Perhaps Nuno sort of thinking that, Moutinho has got the experience and has got the temperament to be, so determined to improve on his form that he will improve on his form. It's a big game. We know that Moutinho likes these kinds of games. So perhaps, his trust in Moutinho has been rewarded today. Matthew Paul just now commenting about Pedro Gonçalves. So he was a young player the Wolves had a couple of years ago. I remember watching him playing for the under-23s against the Albion back in 2017. And I think he scored an amazing goal or something in that game. He certainly sort of caught the eye in that under-23s team. And then he played, I think, a League Cup game or played a couple of games in pre-season a couple of years ago, but never was really given a chance in the first team. I think he might have played the League Cup games last year. And he was sold last summer to Sporting Lisbon and has now become this amazing goal-scoring, creative midfielder, which we've really, really lacked. And it's just such a shame to have let him go. And, we could... it's all very well saying ifs, buts, but he's gone on to become one of the best players in Portugal within a year of us letting him go. And, I know. So Matthew Paul, I totally agree. I think he's the biggest miss of the season. We talked about Johnny, we talked about Doherty and Jota. Pedro Gonçalves, man. Who would have thought? So James Byrne has asked, are we playing Kilman at left back? So looking at the team, it would suggest that. I can't imagine that Pedro Neto, our biggest threat going forward, is going to be playing at left wing back. However, let me just, I think I can share my screen with you. The BBC Sport website, this is going to be exciting for you. BBC Sport website have got Kilman playing left back. And that's probably the team that I would imagine taking place. Although they've got Podence in midfield. So I'm not sure how we're going to line up really, because there are so many different options that we could have. I think that's probably going to be the back four. But then when you've got Podence, Neves and Moutinho, that won't be the case. It might be Podence behind here, Neves slightly further back perhaps. Wish I could move these, but I think it's probably going to be Neves back there. But we do need three in midfield, and this is something that I was talking about after the Palace game, was that we were really, really light in midfield the other day, and we just need an extra body in there because we're just been overrun all the time in midfield. You know, they were just completely bypassing our midfield. There was no challenges, nothing in there. Saïss injured at the minute. Where's he? Why is he not on? Is he on the bench? He's not. He must. I take it he's injured. Then he must be injured. Arsenal's team, by the way: Leno, Bellerin, Holding, David Luiz, Cedric Soares, Souls, Partey, Xhaka, Saka, Smith Rowe, Pepe, and Lacazette. So Ødegaard, he's on the bench. Aubameyang's on the bench. And Craig Pawson is tonight's referee. So it's going to be an interesting game, I think. I don't think Arsenal fans are overly confident. I think they, because we turned them over in the last game, albeit they were on a really bad run of form, and they were, we were playing okay. I know we lost Jimenez in that game, but the way that we were set up, we were used to playing in that way, and we were confident. I think it would be very, very interesting if we weren't in this run of form now. I don't know. I think it would be a much tighter game. Matthew Paul again says, would you have Vinagre playing left back over current options? Yes, I would. I think Vinagre, I think it's a shame what's happened to him. Again, I don't know why and what's happened with him, and whether or not it's his attitude towards the game, or he's had his head turned a little bit, or he's sort of got a little bit too big for his boots, perhaps. But Vinagre, in his first couple of seasons with us, was one of our best young players, and I thought he was going to be, the next big thing. I compared him to the likes of Bale, starting at left back and moving forward. I saw him more as an attacking option, and I was expecting that this season we would start to see him playing more. Perhaps the signing of Neto sort of squashed that altogether, and that's ended. That was kind of any hope for Vinagre in that respect. Personally, I don't know if we can recall him, but he would be somebody I would be recalling. I mean, the fact that, we'll get to Cutrone in a minute, but I would much rather have seen Vinagre come back, just due to how important the wing-backs are in our system. The fact that he knows the role, he played quite a lot of games in that role, and I rated him quite highly. I know that he sort of didn't get the minutes last season that we thought he might in the Europa League and stuff, but it's a shame. Right now, Shiv has given me an interesting comment here. I know that you disagree, but I'm strongly Nuno out. The derby has done it for me, but him saying the team has no belief has given me no faith in him to turn this around. So people who are watching, I know this is a very, very touchy subject perhaps at the minute. Lots of people, it's split opinion through the fan base, whether or not you're Nuno in or Nuno out. And I was hoping that we would never get to this sort of situation with Nuno, because he's done such a good job, and it can't be understated. And I'm sure Shiv agrees that what he did in his first 3 years was far beyond what anybody was hoping that he would do. But now it's got to a point where things are a little stale. I remember saying at the beginning of the season that 3 years is the sort of average lifespan of a Premier League manager, and it's got to a point now where, can he make the current team any better? No, I don't think so. Do you trust him to bring in the right players to go forward? He hasn't done that for a few years. So who knows? Who knows whether or not he's the right man to take Wolves forward? I personally, as Shiv said, he knows that I'm Nuno in, but just playing devil's advocate here. I think it's possible that we could be seeing a new manager. Who's this now? Shrek the Ogre. Grow up. Come on now. So, unfortunately, who's this now? Smurf again. Unfortunately about Gonçalves, but who could have predicted this? He looked like another one on the Familiciao scrap heap, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's why everybody's sort of shocked by it, and everybody's, people must think that it's another thingy, another player with the same name. Moutinho and Neves in midfield. This is Man United Herbert, a Man United fan who was on the stream last time and I think enjoyed himself and commented quite a lot. So I'm really pleased that he's back. Welcome. Moutinho and Neves in midfield. Don't you think that Dendoncker or Otasawi would have been better? I think that's an interesting point there, Herbert. I think it's a very, very... hang on 1 second. Hang on. There we go. Okay. I think I can get rid of those. Well, he's blocked anyway. Or they're blocked. Shrek the Ogre. Dear me. I do look a bit like Shrek anyway. Right, so where was I? Yeah, so we needed a bit more muscle. We needed something else in midfield. We needed an extra man, I thought. An Otasawi or Sace, perhaps. I think he's another good person, another good player, perhaps to look at. But he must be injured at the minute. He's definitely something that we should be looking at. So, so Shiv's apologising. He's not trying to start a war in your chat. He appreciates everything he's done. But this is starting to get messy. I agree, but we've never seen Nuno under pressure like this before. And it's interesting to see how he's dealing with it. And he was, everybody criticised him for the way that he behaved during the Albion game, sat on the bench, slumped on the bench. We've been critical of his substitutions for a while. There's been a lot of things that have been sort of building up for a long time now. And, the small squad as well, that's really been emphasised this season. The youth policy, not signing any experience really since Moutinho and Patricio came in. So all of this stuff has now built up to a head where he's got to start pulling results out of the bag. Otherwise, he's going to be sacked. I hope he doesn't get sacked because first and foremost, it's going to cost Fosun a fortune because he only just signed a new contract. They won't really want to be doing it. They also will know and understand that, Nuno is an investment in himself in that, they're going to keep him for a long time. So I expect that Nuno will be okay for a while. I think he'll last the season at least. Let me know, again, your thoughts here. So Smurf says, maybe we're getting a bit sentimental. I'm still Nuno in, though he's treading on thin ice. Yeah, I think I agree as well. I can totally sympathise with Shiv's point of view and people who do want him out because it's not just... it's not the criticism of people who are Nuno in. The criticism of the Nuno out brigade is that, oh, you're only young, you can't remember Wolves when they were bad. And then their argument back, which I do appreciate, is that everybody wants Wolves to progress and for Wolves to get better, and the only way of doing that at the minute, in their eyes, would be to get rid of Nuno. And it is a shame that it's causing these rifts in the fan base, but. Who knows? I think that give it a couple of months, so we won't be talking about this kind of stuff anymore. So, another comment here. What do you think of Willian Jose? He looks very underwhelming versus Palace. So obviously, again, this is Herbert, the Man United fan, who joins us because obviously, we all know that Man United fans are really like Herbert will be from Wolverhampton. And he's actually, he's secretly a Wolves fan. I didn't think he made a couple of really bad errors. That pass back that nearly led to a Palace goal was shocking. The two chances that he had, the first chance, the one that sort of a volley, half volley kind of thing, I think he did really well to get that on target. I don't think there was much more he could have done with that. So I'm pretty pleased. I was pretty pleased with that effort. And then the header from the corner, perhaps he could have done a little bit better, a yard either side of the keeper, and it's in. It's a goal. But, I don't know. I think he did, considering he'd had 1 day of training, I think, with the team, I think he settled in pretty well. I'm hoping that, he needs a goal to just ease those nerves and get him feeling confident, just like Fabio Silva. I think Fabio Silva started to play quite well in sort of what's the word? What you would expect for an 18-year-old in relation to that, perhaps. I don't think that's the right word. Smith disagrees with Herbert, and she or he says that he did fairly well with the limited service he had. I think I agree with that. I think from what we gave him, I think he was okay. He was all right. And he just adds something else to the team. I think we'll see it better tonight, holding the ball up against a team like Arsenal, who are more likely to have more possession than us and to have more of an attacking threat than Crystal Palace did. I think he's going to prove himself to be a more valuable asset in tonight's game. Herbert again says that he disagrees with Nuno out. How is he supposed to play with Jimenez and his goals? He was pivotal to how Wolves played. Yeah, totally agree. I mean, if you take Jimenez's goals out of last season, I imagine we're sort of looking at the same kind of season that we've had this year. He's been, his abilities. Nobody talks about, anybody else other than Jimenez really outside of Wolves. It's Neves and Jimenez are the two main ones. So, and we've really seen that. Mike says that Otasowie becomes world-class on Football Manager. Unfortunately, on my game, I've just sold him. I think, is he on? Maybe I've loaned him out for a bit to somewhere in America, but oh dear. Did Nuno expect to be Arsenal manager, then have it fall apart? Has he got no motivation? So do you mean this season then, Matthew? Do you think he was sort of anticipating Arteta to get sacked and then to step in, or are you talking about from a year ago when Arteta took over? Good point here from Smith about the Portuguese contingent. Obviously, the large majority of our team is Portuguese at the minute, and if Nuno leaves, does the rest of the contingent or does the attraction to the team wane a little bit? I think that's a good point. And it does depend. I think Nuno and Neves are definitely the two key parts. People in Portugal see Neves as the next sort of leader of Portugal, the next Moutinho, if you like. And I don't know what the relationship is like between Nuno and Neves. They talked last season. I remember seeing various videos where they spoke about the relationship between Jota and Nuno being like father and son. So it'll be interesting to see if Nuno does leave, what happens with those kind of players, those Portuguese players, whether they follow him or whether they just go. I don't think that the signing Portuguese players will change too much. I think it's very much a George Mendes thing that's the reason why the Portuguese players are coming in, and I do think that perhaps that will continue regardless of whether Nuno stays or goes. But we'll have to wait and see. With that. Who's another comment? Where are the key areas that Wolves will look to strengthen in the summer? Well, this is a key question. I'll throw it out to the people in the chat as well. What Mike's got straight back to us already. Great response to a great question. So Mike would strengthen a lot of places. He would say centre-back, centre attacking midfielder and centre midfielder, another striker if we don't take on Jose permanently, another goalkeeper too. So pretty much every area of the pitch. But apart from the fullbacks, which is where I disagree, I think let's pretend that Johnny is back fit and playing every game. I think we need another fullback because I don't think. I mean, either Semedo's going. I can't see Semedo staying for long. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I don't think Semedo. I don't think Semedo is going to be sticking around for more than a couple of seasons, and so I would have another fullback in at some point and have be able to rotate and rest one of them, Johnny or Semedo. That's probably going to be our first choice pairing, perhaps. I don't know. I think so. Mike Evans it's obviously is it Mike who's just said now about bringing in a goalkeeper? And then he said, does Ruddy's contract run out this year? I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if didn't he. I think he signed a new contract recently, didn't he? Because there was talk in the summer about trying to sell him amongst the fans, and then they turned around and he'd signed a new contract. I think it's a pretty good signing to have for that kind of level. You know, as a backup goalkeeper, he's proved that he's pretty good in the cup competitions. I do think that it would be worth trying to sign a younger, higher quality goalkeeper who will come in to replace Patricio in a few years' time. But yeah, I can't think of any names of anybody that we should be bringing in. But I think a goalkeeper's likely in the next couple of years. But yeah, in terms of where Wolves need to improve, I think definitely a centre back. 100% a centre back. We need somebody to replace Connor Cody. Somebody who can play in a back three and also in a back four. Somebody who's left-footed, preferably. But I mean, I'm pretty happy with Kilman at the minute. I mean, if we all sort of dial back our expectations a little bit and think where we are and all that sort of rubbish, we think, right, we've got a young lad here who's come from non-league, signed for very little, and has comfortably settled into this team. I think Kilman is where to go in terms of that left-sided centre-back for the rest of the season, 100%. And I could see him being taking a key role next season as well. So a couple of comments here that I want to highlight. So apparently it was reported earlier on in the year that Arsenal had held talks with George Mendes over Nuno taking over the role, and then all of a sudden Mikel Arteta starts saving himself. Who knows? There was rumours a couple of weeks ago when they were about George Mendes touting Nuno out to other Premier League teams. I mean, you kind of want, and you can see from Fosun's point of view, they're not going to sack Nuno because they know he's very highly thought of amongst other football teams, and they know that if they just hold on to him for long enough, that somebody will come in and they will have to buy him out with the contract, and it will cost Fosun very little in comparison to having to sack him. So I think that's something to bear in mind as well in the next couple of weeks as well. And also, if we do get relegated, then is a team like Arsenal or Chelsea or one of those, are they likely to take our man? It's also interesting as well to compare Wolves and Liverpool. I've done this a couple of times this season. So I compared Wolves and Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, talking about their transition under Klopp from being 7th or 8th in the table with that meme of a front line to where they are now. And now they also, interesting comparison, they are missing their star player and their results are awful in comparison to last year. And, it's all relative. They are slipping down the table a bit. They are struggling. So I think this season, so long as we don't get relegated, it'll be okay. Things will be okay. And Nuno will still be in charge next season, I think, and it'll all just be fine. Okay, all right. So Mike says that John Ruddy signed a contract for a further year. So this is from Shiv. That's what's really annoying. We said no to Danny Olmo, said no to Tab Soba, a centre back who's playing amazingly well at Leverkusen. I know this is in hindsight, but when we can get someone in, we don't. I know it's annoying, Shiv, and again, I appreciate you saying it's in hindsight, but Nuno always talks about getting the right character as well, and he puts so much emphasis on that, having the right man for the squad. He doesn't want people disrupting the balance that he's got. The Kwan, if you remember South Bank Resistance, Michael Petalengro, what he used to talk about, Kwan, I don't know how you say it, but that's a real key part of Nuno's philosophy, is the balance of the characters in the squad. And I don't think that he would, I don't think he'd get that. If he was to sign these big name characters, then there'd be all sorts of trouble about wages and playing time and, famously, Nuno doesn't want senior players sitting on the bench, which I don't agree with at all. Diaz as well, Shiv says that he was another player that we were linked with a couple of years ago, and then has gone on to become one of City's greatest centre backs ever. So, yes, it's a difficult situation at the minute for Wolves because we're all very jealous of these players that we've been linked with 10 years. We don't know how serious the links with Olmo or Diaz or Tapsoba were. They could have been very fleeting. They could have been paper talk. They could have been talking Wolves talk. Who knows? But, now that we've got the players that we've got for the rest of the season, and this is where I wanted to come on to Cutrone. And you can put your thoughts about Cutrone in the comments now if you wish. But I don't think that he's a very good player, right? And I don't think that he's a Premier League striker, put it that way. He had a really good start to his career at AC Milan and scored a fair amount of goals, had a really good goals to game ratio, and then signed him for a decent amount of money from his sort of hometown club. I don't think we gave him enough time to settle in Wolverhampton. I don't think we gave him enough time to settle into the team. There must have been some kind of rift with Nuno. 100% there must have been. Peter, me and Dave are very good friends on YouTube. Don't you worry. I'm only teasing. He's in fact, we were texting just a couple of hours ago. So anyway, what was I saying about Cutrone? Yeah, so he wasn't given enough time to settle in Wolverhampton. He wasn't given enough time to settle into the team and into the way that we play, which is very, very particular. And you have to, he's a very similar player to Jimenez in a way, but then there are slight differences. You don't see Jimenez barging around, closing down defenders. That's all I think about when I think of Cutrone now is it's just him running around. He doesn't score goals. He doesn't sort of make chances for himself, and he's not a Premier League player. He's not a great striker. However, I would not have got rid of him having brought him back. Not just because of, like I just said, about not giving him time to settle and stuff like that. I don't think that's an option this time. Or that's a reason this time. But the squad is so threadbare that it would have been worth having another striker as competition. I know that we've got Fabio Silva, but he's 18. Cutrone, Jose, and Silva would have been a pretty strong, and with the possibility, the very, very slim possibility of Jimenez coming back towards the very back end of the season, I think that would have looked a really strong attacking unit, let's say, going into the last 10 games of the season. I think it's got competition. That's my point, is that at the moment, Willian Jose knows that if he doesn't play well, he's still going to play because they're not going to trust Fabio Silva to go and play against Leicester and Southampton and them lot, because he's not physical enough, he's not good enough yet, and it's going to be Willian Jose who plays, and that unfortunately means that he's not motivated as much as he could be if you had somebody like Cutrone who he looks at and thinks, he's their player, he plays for Wolves, he's got a contract with Wolves, he's got a point to prove, he's come back from loan, he's desperate to sort of make a point and sort of prove Nuno wrong again, maybe, or at least try and get himself a move somewhere else. Willian, I don't know, he's sort of come back from Spain. He's got no connection to Wolves. He might want to play in the Premier League, but he knows that if he doesn't play well, if he doesn't score loads of goals, but he plays well, he might get a move somewhere else in the Premier League in the summer. I think it was a bad move to let Cutrone go back out again. But that's a good point, Peter B, saying that it didn't harm Jimenez's motivation being the only striker, in fairness. So that's a very good point, and you've completely ruined my argument. But it depends on Willian's outlook and his motivation. Don't forget, Jimenez had never sort of been the number one striker before, so it was a great opportunity for him to come in and sort of stake a claim, very similar to what I was saying about Catrone. So perhaps that's the reason why Jimenez didn't mind being the only striker, because he was so used to this competition that for places that he was, all of a sudden top dog, and he was loving it and trying really hard. And also, I think it came quite natural to him. He didn't have to, really try very hard. I think it came really naturally to him. So Newport Wolves. I wonder if that's Newport in South Wales, sir. So he says, why are people saying about Nuno to go? Should the board be getting more stick for not backing him once again? Another rubbish window. Why not bring in players? Again, another good point. I know that Fosun don't like the January transfer window. Not many teams, not many owners do anymore. It was that point, wasn't there, about 10 years ago? I think it was 10 years ago yesterday, wasn't it, or Monday, where the transfer record was broken 3 times in one day for Suarez, Carroll, and Torres all in the same day. That doesn't happen anymore. Clubs don't want to gamble with money, with large sums of money in January. What's added to that at the moment is the uncertainty with COVID. It looks like the league will continue and will be completed. The Premier League, certainly. Other divisions, doesn't look like that might be the case. So you can kind of understand their hesitancy and they don't want to go all for it. So, but I do agree. I would have expected, and it's easy to say hypothetically, but if I was the manager, I'd be going in and saying we need another defender. We need another centre-back. There's no point saying, like Nuno came out a couple of weeks ago and said, oh, we need to sign us, in the summer. You're saying that in a transfer window. Why don't you go and buy a centre-back? It's clearly that it wasn't on their list of things to do before January started. And then all of a sudden in January, they realised, oh, hang on, we haven't got any centre-backs. We need to get some centre-backs. So it is a concern, the link now between Fosun and Nuno, and whether or not that can last. I don't know. So Newport in Shropshire is not in South Wales. Much nicer. AJ Chandler, nice to see you. Regular commenter on the videos. Do you believe that Otasowie should be given a run in the team alongside either Neves or Dendoncker? Come on, curtains. I look like Tony Dinning. I think he's probably the best option at the minute, but I wouldn't be playing him just alongside one of them. I think we need to go to 3 in midfield. We keep getting overrun really easily, so I'd definitely go for probably Neves, Otasowie, Dendoncker if he's not being an idiot, if he's not playing like a fool. But yeah, it'd be worth giving Otasowie a bit of a run, I think. Matthew says, Neves, what is his best position? Higher up the pitch or CDM? I missed the Neves bang as well. Something that we're all missing. He has scored a couple of goals recently, but one from a penalty and one from the edge of the 6-yard box. It's quite a novelty there. But his best position is sitting slightly deeper, not as deep as he has been sitting. But he's not very strong defensively, and we've seen that in recent weeks. The goal against the Albion, where he just got pushed over and shoved out of the way, it's not good enough, and not strong enough to be that sort of. I personally, I think Dendoncker is probably more like that CDM, if you want to get FIFA about it. Because of his physicality, I don't think Neves is suited to that role. He's a really good, scrappy little midfielder, Neves, and I think he does a really good job in the middle third of the pitch. I think I would just have him as a sort of standard engine room, box-to-box sort of midfielder who can spray the passes but can break up play in that middle third, not sort of on the last line of defence, which he has tended to have been this season. Another good point from we've got a lot of talk about Shropshire here now. Newport, Shropshire. Smurf is a big fan. Newport Wolves. So there we go. if anybody from Shropshire Council is watching, I will take advertising for Visit Shropshire. I will, happy to have the stream sponsored by Visit Shropshire if they get in touch with me. Cheers. Another point here again from Newport Wolves saying that nothing from Jeff. Is he still at Wolves? He's too busy doing all of the other jobs. Because if you remember, they let Laurie Dalrymple go. I'll do that. Leave it with me. Leave it to Jeff. He'll do that. Got rid of Kevin Thelwell. Dad, leave it to Jeff. Jeff will do it. So it's only a matter of time when Nuno gets sacked. It will be Jeff doing that as well. I don't think personally, I don't think that's the best idea that he's ever had. Fosun have done a lot of good. They've made a lot of good decisions. But I think getting rid of those real high-profile figures in the club, and not just, Kevin Thelwell's not just a chief scout or whatever he was doing. He was, a key member of the board as well, and to allow him to go, I think Thelwell was allowed to go, wasn't he? Dalrymple was sacked, but Thelwell went to wherever he went to in America. That was a bad move, and I think we're paying for that now. Look, since he's left last January, not the best transfer window in the summer, not the best transfer window now in January. So he needs to be replaced with somebody suitable, I think, and that's the sooner that can happen, the best. We've got somebody who's big on. Sorry, just bigging up Shropshire again. If anybody wants to visit Newport in Shropshire, it's a lovely place to go. So thank you very much to Harry Williams Productions. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. But thank you as well to everybody who's joined in on this live stream. This is the first time in a long time that I've had lots of comments and stuff coming through. It's been really pleasing to see. This is also on Facebook. If you are a personal friend on Facebook, or on Twitter as well, on my Twitter. It's on Twitch as well, all at the same time. So make sure you do drop a like on the stream as well if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel as well. I have been doing this for a long time, but had a bit of a break before returning in the last couple of weeks, because there is actually stuff to talk about now. I sort of have had a year away from doing Wolves stuff because there was nothing to say. I was bored of saying that VAR was terrible and Wolves were pretty boring to watch. But now there is stuff to talk about, so I'm back. And also, there's a couple of really bad Wolves content producers, but we'll save that for another day. So good point here from Ben Lynn Joseph Atto Karan. Fantastic name. Why is Moutinho still playing? We should be playing Vitinha or Owen Otasowie. I think this is probably Moutinho's last chance. Like I said earlier in the stream about Nuno really trusting his experience and giving him one last go, and knowing Moutinho's temperament and knowing how annoyed Moutinho would have been over the last couple of performances, and really hope that that he will improve. So I can see your point. Vitinha's a mystery as well, because he's not really been given the chance to start and to play. So hopefully we'll see some good performances soon. We've got a fan of Jeff Shee here. Kane Rabbi wants Jeff to be the manager. Shee Army. True Geordie's kickoff. I've watched True Geordie for a long time now, 4 or 5 years now, and I do enjoy lots of his content. I don't watch the kickoff though. Again, I've seen clips of it. I don't know how, if Harry Williams Productions, if you're somebody from True Geordie and you're asking, would I like to come on it? Of course I would. So, yeah. Thank you very much, Matthew Paul. I hope you're right that it's the start of our unbeaten run. Final 5 minutes or so of the live stream, what I used to do and what I'll start doing now. If you just whack your predictions for the game in the chat, and I'll get them all read out as we start to come towards an end. Last 5 minutes of the stream here. We're flogging Moutinho to death. Yeah, I do agree. He's, his best days are behind him, aren't they? Unfortunately, and it does seem as if he's struggling to keep up, and perhaps he's playing too many games. Perhaps he's the one player who's suffering from last season the most, because he did play the vast majority of games, and it was a long time that he played for. 2-0 says Newport Wolves. Kane, I don't know what you're talking about. I hope you're not being mean to me. Come on, Kane. I'm a big supporter of Jeff Shee for manager. Come on. 2-0 Newport Wolves. Is that for Wolves or for Arsenal? So 2-0 Wolves at the minute. I'm not feeling very confident. I do see, the thing is, I do these streams and I do these, go on Twitter and stuff before the game. I think, oh yeah, Wolves are going to win. I felt the same against Chelsea last week. I felt really confident. And then, we've been terrible. 1-0 Wolves. Neves banger, says Matthew Paul. I hope you're right there. So 2 clean sheets as well. And again, I'm assuming that Newport Wolves has suggested the Wolves are going to win, although I'm not certain. What the hell has Otasowie done to not deserve a game? Yeah, it would be. This is the point about that was what I was shocked about with Chorley, the fact that we start with Dendoncker and Moutinho in midfield. It was the kind of game for Otasowie. Should have bought a midfielder to save Moutinho. Watch JAFFN. Okay. Wolves win, says Newport. Good lad. Okay, then. So the chat's feeling pretty confident. So let's hope that Wolves do pull it out of the bag. Wolves do get a win. Don't forget to check back on the channel later on for a review of the game, and hopefully a positive review. Hopefully there'll be something to talk about. The games have been very, very dull for a very, very long time now, but hopefully Wolves get a win. Thank you for joining me. Thank you everybody who's commented and got involved in the stream. Thank you to Mikey and Shiv, who have been constants on this channel for a long, long time, and have, even when it was under a different name and stuff, they were still watching the streams and they were still contributing. So thank you guys as well. Now that people are coming back, thank you for sticking with it all the way through. And hopefully you'll all join me for the video at the end of the game. And Tony's here. Tony Bellew, who commented on the Talking Wolves video a couple of weeks ago. That was one of the final straws to bring me back to YouTube. So thank you, Tony. Oh, I thought you were talking about yourself. He was talking about me. Right. This is not a watch along, everybody. Nobody wants to watch me watching the game. Go and watch Dazzling Dave or Harry. Actually, go and watch Harry Mansell and watch his watch along if he's doing one. If he's not, he's just down in beer. Very good match review, I thought, the other day. Look after yourselves. Watch the video after the game from me. See you soon. Very good comment there, Smooth. My granddad follows your videos, Tom. He refers to it as the Old Gold website. Well, say hello to your granddad for me, and hopefully we can celebrate a win at the end of the game. Bye, everybody.